everyone, welcome to English Story by Manoj Chandra, stories that can change your life. Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I am going to share a powerful story of failure, struggle, and an unforgettable comeback. Today's story is called He Failed 10 Times, but the 11th Changed Everything. It is a story that will inspire you to never give up, no matter how many times you fail. So let's start with a question for you. Just imagine that for a second. Failing at something you want more than anything. 10 times in a row. Would you keep going? How many times would you try before you finally gave up? Well, this is the story of someone who faced that exact choice. So let me introduce you to Arjun. Now, Arjun wasn't some kind of genius or a star student. He just had this one simple dream: to pass a really tough exam and make his parents proud. But the one thing he had, the thing this whole story is about, was this incredible, uncommon determination. He took his first shot at the exam and he failed. But he wasn't completely crushed. He just kind of picked himself up and thought, okay, maybe next time. But next time wasn't as simple as he hoped, because as he tried again and again, something else started to build up. This heavy, crushing weight of failure and expectation. So he tried a second time, and he failed again. And that's when it started. The whispers. People around him started talking quietly, suggesting maybe this just wasn't the right path for him. But Arjun, he just pushed on. And that pattern, it just kept going. His third attempt failed. Fourth attempt failed. Fifth attempt, the same exact result. And you can imagine, with each failure, a little piece of that initial hope just chipped away. It got harder and harder to keep going. And what made it even tougher was that life was moving on for everyone else. His friends, they were getting jobs, starting their careers, earning money, and building their lives. But Arjun, he felt like he was still stuck, still trying to achieve that one simple dream. By the time he failed for the 7th time, those quiet whispers had turned into loud voices. Even his own family, his relatives, started telling him, "Son, just stop. You're wasting your time." The pressure was becoming just unbearable. He kept going. He failed his 8th attempt, and his 9th, and then his 10th. A full decade of trying and 10 failures to show for it. At this point, almost everyone in his life had just completely written him off. And honestly, after 10 failures, Arjun himself was on the very edge of quitting. He was at his absolute lowest point. He was broken, felt completely alone, and would sometimes cry at night. For the very first time, he started to seriously think maybe everyone else was right. That one question just kept replaying in his mind over and over again. Am I really not good enough for this? But even in that darkness, there was a tiny little spark inside of him that just wasn't quite ready to let go. And in that moment of near despair, he remembered something his father had told him a long, long time ago. Success is not for the fastest. It is for the one who never stops. And those words, they gave him the strength he desperately needed. That night, Arjun made a decision. He would give it one final try. But he knew this time had to be different. He couldn't just work harder. He had to change everything about how he was doing things. So what did he do differently? Well, he stopped just studying hard, and he started studying smarter. He looked back at all 10 of his failures and really tried to understand his mistakes. He focused on improving just a little bit, step by step, day by day. And so importantly, he blocked out all the noise and focused only on his own goal. So days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months of this new approach. And finally, the day of his 11th exam arrived. Of course, he was nervous, but underneath those nerves, there was a strange feeling of calm. He knew that whatever the result was, he had truly given it his absolute best. And then, The day the results came out, this was it. The moment of truth. A whole decade of struggle, of perseverance, it all came down to this single moment. With his heart pounding in his chest, Arjun closed his eyes, he took a deep breath, and slowly, he checked his result. And this time, he had passed. He hadn't just passed, he was one of the top-ranking students in the entire country. He just stared at the screen, completely in shock. And then the emotions just hit him like a tidal wave. Tears started streaming down his face. Not tears of sadness, but of pure relief and joy. All the failures, all the pain, all the lonely struggles, it had all finally paid off. Failure is not the end. It is the path to success. The only real failure is giving up. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe to English Story by Manoj Chandra for more powerful stories. Because here, we share stories that can change your life.